So what is Saudi Arabia's biggest concern right now? Oil, ISIS, both, and what will it drive to move? Joining me now with his take is the former U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia and author of Desert Diplomat, Ambassador Robert Jordan. Ambassador, a pleasure to have you, but that is an important question. Friday, OPEC meets, but today, ISIS is advancing. What's more important? What's the keep Saudi Arabia up at night issue at this very second? Is it oil or is it ISIS?
Actually, it's none of the above. It's Iran. And it's all Iran all the time, I think, in the Saudi mentality right now. But as between oil and ISIS, I think it's oil. The Saudis have to be concerned that their strategy of pumping flat out 11 million barrels a day or so is not having the desired effect, at least in terms of running some of the higher cost producers out of the market. Americans especially have found ways to drill, to save money, to drill wells in many fewer days. And American ingenuity, I think, in some cases has outfoxed the Saudi strategy here.
You just brought up Iran. Iran is funding rebels. It's funding weaponry, all kinds of things happening right there in Syria. That's quite obvious. If that's of such concern for Saudi Arabia, why, when Saudi Arabia has the third largest military in the Middle East behind Israel and Iran, or most powerful, I suppose you should say, why aren't they getting involved? Isn't their patriarchy, isn't their entire government at risk here?
There is a risk that I think they understand, but it's more attenuated. They did get involved earlier in the year, February, March. They flew some air missions along with the Emiratis. But since that time, they've been completely focused on Yemen. They have, I think, about as much bandwidth in their military occupied right now as they can handle. And until they find a solution to what they're doing in Yemen, I think it's going to be a bridge too far to expect them to do much more with ISIS in Syria. I hope that day comes, though, because as Mr. Barak indicated, I think it is important to have Sunni boots on the ground in Syria and Iraq, and not Americans doing that work.
Well, again, why is it our responsibility, the responsibility of the French and the Russians, when truly this is extremely dangerous to even the Sunnis in Saudi Arabia? What is your best guess of the first country to move? Jordan, of course, has in the past, but they lost a pilot. So they immediately retreated. We've had people that have been injured and wounded in all of this, but what will take?
We've shed our blood. We've shed our blood and our treasure. You're absolutely right. And I think the Americans have been trying to get the Saudis and Emiratis and Jordanians to get their act together, cobble together a joint military force that can be effective as a Sunni force in the Middle East. This hasn't happened up to this point. The Saudis, though, have fairly recently engaged in what's called the Cairo Declaration with the Egyptians. And they're talking about building a joint military force to protect their homelands, if you will, from terrorist external threats going forward. But again, this may just be talk. We haven't seen the action yet, and I think it is becoming a matter of urgency for these Gulf states especially, perhaps to join with Jordanians and Egyptians in putting something together that can be viable. The Americans can help on this. We can provide armaments, we can provide a lot of the hardware and even some advice. But they've got to be the ones to put some more skin in the game than they have right now.
Ambassador Robert Jordan, an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.